Yo, what's up, Kelly? What's up, Tony? I sent you guys invites. Welcome back to Club Maha. This is the new COVID pandemic in China. Space equaling a major pile of bullshit. Do
Pretty
not
weak.
comply. Do not comply. That's basically the theme of the conversation. It's the theme of the space is that we will not comply. Hopefully, this space gets some nice traction this afternoon. Take some time while you got it, and please repost the space. Now is the time to mobilize the conversation. Now is the time to get in front of the bullshit, right? So how we do that is we organize, we mobilize, we create a sense of authority within our community and say, no, we will not comply to your tyrannical regime. So you guys, anybody can come up on stage. I sent some invites. Raise your hand, come on up. Yo, Kirk out. Come on up, bro. Yo, what's up, Jenny? Welcome to the stage, Kirk out.
Yo, good to be here. Terrible news, but happy to be up in it with you guys.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a second real quick and just post to the top the what's it called? The link to this news.
I gotta tell you, Augustus, my tinfoil on this and something I've been worried about for a while is that like they know damn well how many people are prepared to not comply because the original COVID was bullshit. And I'll tell you my biggest fear, and it's something I'm sort of playing wait and see with, is that this time or the next time or sometime they release an actually deadly virus, knowing damn well we're not going to comply. Um, and just it's the whole like the trick with tug of war is at some point maybe you just let go and let them fall right on their asses. So like I'm on the team of pay attention for bullshit and do not comply with bullshit. But man, I'm watching hard on whether this actually comes forward and how nasty. If it's bullshit, I'm ready for that. But if it's not,
Well,
I'm
look,
ready for that too.
look, the playbook, right, is let's make things so bad and so terrible that the people will beg the government to strip them of their rights for things to be just a little bit less terrible. Or the idea that things will be just a little bit less terrible. So that's the playbook. And when you know that playbook, you've got to stand up and say, hey, I will not sacrifice my rights in order for things to be a little bit less terrible. I'm willing to sacrifice what we're going through in order to preserve my rights. Right? I don't care if people are bleeding out of their fucking eyes. I don't care if I'm bleeding out of my eyes. I will not comply. It's that simple.
I mean, I'm not going to walk headfirst into biological death. I'm going to do what I got to do to live. Last time COVID was bullshit, they tried to get us to hide in our homes, even though it was bullshit. If the disease itself is not bullshit, I'm not going to just rush right into it just to not comply with the rules. But I'll wind my own path. I'm not going to listen to their rules just because it's their rules. I'm going to follow what rules feel right for me, and that's I think what it means to be an independent thinker. In the meantime, I'm praying all these deep research homies like our boy Ian are diving in immediately, quickly, and deeply to find out where it came from, who's behind it, and dig up all the shit, because that's the information we need to know how to proceed one way or the other.
I hope it's okay. I just found the actual link. It's from China to China Post. I put that up in the Jumbotron nest.
Sweet. Yeah, thanks.
Welcome.
What do you think about all this, Kelly?
This is the first I've heard about it. It's just ridiculous. I mean, how can we reply? Another bat, huh? Cough, cough.
Right.
It's just scare tactics.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But like I said, it's the
Yeah,
first I've heard
and like
about it.
H5N1, bird flu. They've been trying to scare us with that. They're culling all of our chickens. The prices of eggs are flying. It's nuts. And of course, they're gonna shove a lot of fear down our throats. So if they need to shove 5 viruses at us to scare us into compliance, I'm sure they will try to do that. It's exhausting, but that's also part of the playbook. But hey, man, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, right? Famine, pestilence, war, and death. Fucking bullshit. Jenny, what's going on, dude?
Not much. I'm actually reading, but I figured I'd come up here and grab the mic so that my face would go somewhere, and maybe that would spread it around. I'm like deep into a thingy, so I'm not going to be really much help with anything.
That's all good. Appreciate you being in here with us.
Oh, there's Jess. I love Jess. Jess is so amazing. I love her.
Should we get Jess up here?
She's pretty awesome. She's super healthy, and she's really fun and happy. She'd be a good make America
Hey, shoot us a request, Jess, if you'd like to come up and talk. Love to have you.
Don't leave me hanging, bro.
Did you hear Minnesota declared a state of emergency because of all these virus scares and the chickens and all that?
Are you serious?
I know. Yes, I put the link in the chat. I don't think it showed an image. It was from Newsbreak.
What?
All right, Jessica took the invite.
Yo, what's up, Jess?
Hey, hi Jenny.
How are
Good.
you?
Thank you. What are we talking about? We're talking about pandemic in China, a new one. Oh boy.
Do pandemics, fires and fear in, what was it, Minnesota?
Yeah, it's all fabricated, right?
More nonsense. I mean, I have no idea. They love taking a grain of truth and wrapping it in bullshit bacon, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Who is it that just said Minnesota declared state of emergency?
That was me. It was the
Was-
article came out yesterday. I think it's from Fox News. It said Minnesota declares state of emergency as diseases cripple Midwestern farms.
Oh God, that's so
Yeah.
fabricated.
Oh no. I'm
Save the
tired of
ostriches.
the farms.
Seriously. I really need to lock it down and get a good local source for eggs and dairy. I live in a place where there's a lot of like Amish farms, and I haven't had a chance to dig in and find out who's got my back. But it's time. It's totally time.
I would love to ask Jess. Jess is really into. She knows about Elon and rockets and is super into that. What do you think about like we're on for 2026? Don't you think for the 5 launches for the huge rockets for Mars? I would think since he's now in that position. The last time you and I got to speak a lot about this, you know, he wasn't right next to Trump. So it seems to me that he should be Elon. That is right on target for his 5 launches in 2026. What do you think?
I think that he will reach that. I think that, yeah, we'll go for launches in 2026. So that's the next window open, transfer window from Mars to Earth, or sorry, Earth to Mars. But I should say, Flight 8 is scheduled. I just saw something released today that it's scheduled to be the 26th of this month. So coming in just a few days. And then there's backup windows through March 8th. And I believe this upcoming launch. I haven't been keeping up like I used to for all the SpaceX stuff. I'm still in South Texas. I just don't have a car, so I haven't been able to like go out there and stuff like that. but it is supposed to. I think they're going to attempt a ship catch as well. So a booster catch and then catching the ship. And once that's, proven and then they repeat it several times, I think that the launch schedule will just really rapidly increase. But until that's done, I think that it's kind of like, but I do think that they'll make the transfer window because it's Elon and they have all the ships, like they're building them at rapid speed in the boosters. Like they have waiting ships to be launched and they're testing them and all that stuff. So it's kind of a backlog right now, but they do need to catch the booster again and now catch the ship. So it's pretty exciting. This upcoming launch is going to be really big, I think, if they do attempt that ship catch. So that would make it, fully and rapidly reusable, catching the booster and catching the ship. I'm really excited about it. I'm super stoked. It's been a while coming, so but everybody should be excited, and I hope everybody will watch that launch. It's coming up once again, February 26th, as the first T-0 at 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, which is, I believe, 11:30 p.m. UTC in the UK. So hope everybody will watch.
I hope they launch a big one from Cape Canaveral. That would be nice. I don't think we've had anything like that. We get mostly the Falcon 9s. We have, some NASA ships. We've got Blue Origin, but we don't get those huge rockets. I thought he was going to perhaps launch from here as well. I'm hoping. I know that right now we're trying to bid for, they're building huge. They've like quadrupled what's going on over in the Cape. They're changing the way people are living. They're changing the land. They're like, these Skunk Works and H3 Harris Corp, all these guys are getting these giant contracts. So, I mean, the space industry is definitely moving, huge. So, yeah, we need to get off the rocks so people stop poisoning us with these weird COVIDs. Would be cool.
Yeah, and all the stuff that's being
Seriously.
dropped from the sky for sure. Real quick, Jenny, sorry to interrupt. I would love if you provided an update, like a video update or something on the Cape, because I have never been to the Cape. I literally don't know what it looks like, stuff like that. Those updates that you just told me are very exciting. And yes, Starship, I believe that they are building, or they were building out the tower and all of the infrastructure there, and they ended up moving it to Starbase. Like they put it on barges or ships and brought it over here. And I believe that they're building again over there is last I heard. So starships will be launching from the Cape eventually, as far to the best of my knowledge. But I'm not sure when.
I'll do that. They upped the protocol, so it's a raised warning level. Like Wickwire could have taken me on the base not that long ago, which we were going to, and I did like, oh no, I'll go later, and then all of a sudden now it's a higher. I can get on the base myself, but I don't know. I guess I could do it myself. What am I talking about? I have a Deer's Pass, but duh. I will definitely do that, and I will get out there and see it. Blue Origin is building massive. I really want to know about the Skunk Works and Harris. What's the other one, Augustus? There's Skunk Works, Harris, Northrop Grumman, H3,
Boeing, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin,
Yep.
Honeywell.
Yeah, they have like a whole little nest over here, and they're doing some really interesting kind of like nano type contracts in the rivers. I will get information on that. I don't understand it. It's the weirdest contract I've seen, but I do know that it's like a re-up from the 50s when Titusville was really big and NASA was huge. They're redoing all of that, even like changing city infrastructure, moving around like lobbyists. They're getting different city administrators. So they're hitting this place really hard, and I think it's going to triple. It was over or right under 365 launches, and that's almost one a day. So we do have that, like, I don't know how many launch pads, but wow, like, what are we doing out there? It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I just want to shout out my boy JRS in the audience. JRS, come on up, bro. I sent you an invite. And while I got the mic, let everybody know, listen, now's the time to mobilize. Now's the time to organize. And the easiest way to get in front of this pandemic, in front of this scandemic, in front of this bullshit is to repost the space. Simply tap the bottom right hand button and repost the space. It's real simple, it's real easy, and it's real effective. So now's the time to get active, to get mobilized, and get organized. A shout out once again to JRS. He worked on the RFK Jr. campaign with me as well, and he's just a good dude. Was with him on inauguration night and on election night. What a great guy. Uh, Let me try to get CJ up on stage. Kirk out. Can you help me get CJ up on stage? He's requesting, but it won't allow me to accept the request.
I guess this, have you seen any like rollout plans? Like, here's the pandemic, here's what we did, here's what we learned, here's what we would do next time. Has anyone published anything like that?
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Yeah, I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I'm sure that they have. Yeah, I mean, look at all the work that Dr. Robert Malone has done. You know, he goes around and he speaks to this sort of thing in depth. So definitely check his work out, Dr. Robert Malone. What's up, CJ?
I got to meet him in Phoenix and see he and his wife. He's an incredible guy, and the things that he's recovered about women and pregnancies is very disturbing. Am I
Yeah.
talking about the right guy? No, I'm thinking about Thor, not Malone. I'm thinking about
Oh,
Thor.
okay. Yeah, no, I've met Dr. Robert Malone a few times. He's amazing. So what's up, CJ?
All right, what's up, guys? So I'm gonna only take a minute here. It's about the COVID stuff. It's all very concerning. I don't understand what the point is, what the point of all it is behind us. But from the stuff I've witnessed and survived, I'd like to share with you briefly. So I'm dealing with a lot of intentional medical malpractice from the medical community or stuff. I'm dealing with like everything that a corrupt state can throw at somebody. But that aside, from what I've witnessed at like hospitals and medical thing, even if it's against the law, like even if they do something illegal, it doesn't seem to phase them. So from what I've been witnessing, it's like they're picking and choosing who to help or hinder out there, which is just very wrong, especially if somebody's completely innocent. Another thing is, I mentioned a little thing on the. Sorry about that. I had an alarm. So like everything's been thrown at me, and I don't want to get into it. But there's this one day I met a gentleman that like made a beeline for me in a restaurant, like red, sick as a dog, with a smile on his face. And I've been dealing with stuff previously, and anyway, so I was about to drop later that day, like my lungs were about to close, but a medicine that I had that was for Lyme, it's called cefuroxime, um, stopped my lungs from closing up. So it was basically somebody trying to take me out. I mean, I have to assume that other people were hit as well, unless they already had a built-up immunity, yada yada. You get the idea. But there's some sick stuff out there, and like low-level people, like like your doctor, maybe your doctor yourselves might know what's going on. You know what I mean? But maybe not to the fullest extent. But whatever it is, it's sick and it's highly illegal. And I hope you guys stay safe. Okay. All right. Later.
Let's go popcorn style from here on out. Anybody can speak, just don't speak over one another or be like, extra with it. But anybody can talk. So, yeah, popcorn style. You don't gotta raise your hand.
I'll chime in. I haven't looked to see what it is that's coming out, quote unquote, but it seems like seems like there's so much that people are still believing, and it's just hard because obviously there's lots of propaganda, there's lots of and like the medical malpractice and stuff that was being discussed. Like I don't trust to go to a doctor at all anymore. I haven't been in 3.5 years, and like I wish it weren't that way, and having to do research on like the independent doctors or freedom doctors and stuff like that and find somebody who actually would take my best interest into account when, treating me for something. Like I just don't feel the safety that I used to feel, which now I realize was maybe not right is kind of an illusion. Does anybody else feel that way?
Oh, totally. It's hard to find a good doctor that you can trust. My first step for filtering doctors is to look for a deep doctor of doctor. It's still no guarantee. They're still very much usually in the standard medical sort of paradigm, but the DOs get more of a systemic education on health rather than sort of the whack-a-mole hyper targeted, here's what's happening, so this is how we're going to beat it down sort of vibe. I managed to find a decent one when I was living in the Bay. And one thing I found with him was that he was at least really encouraging when I would come to him with information that I found. And he would often say, you know, here's why the information you pulled up isn't so great, or why I don't really go to that source. But he never made me feel stupid. He always listened, and I found him to be pretty helpful. The real problem is that most of the doctors we would probably be inclined to trust are out of the paradigm. They can't take our insurance. So it's like, what the hell's the point of this insurance we're forced to buy if we can't use it where we feel most cared for, you know?
Yeah, I haven't had health insurance for several years, or since I moved to Texas from Arizona, and that's kind of I feel like it was at first detrimental, and now I feel like it's kind of a blessing. Um, yeah, I don't know. I really wish that. Yeah, I really wish that this would all change, and I think the RFK obviously is going to work on it, but like it needs to change now.
Yeah, I mean, some of this stuff might change really quickly. It's hard to say what stuff, right? The mission I'm so excited about, because it's almost like Trump made Bobby the president of health. I don't know if anyone saw this. There was an executive order creating the MAHA Commission, and it's Bobby chairing the commission, and like every major executive agency, like agriculture, HHS, EPA, the housing authority, like so many departments, and Bobby's the chair over them. So the derive from that is that Bobby's actually any health related policy, any sort of MAHA related policy in all these agencies. And we could see some really big changes really quickly just from that. I'm with pharmaceutical ads and do some sort of like ingredient parity or something with Europe where they don't have all these bullshit ingredients in our food and our medicine. And I think those would be steps that could be taken very quickly. Now, usually when they make steps like they give industry like 2 years to comply, I would hate to see that, but you have to give them some amount of time, but I would hate to see it be 2 years. Does anyone have any insight on what kinds of things would be very meaningful in our personal lives that they could change at the federal level quickly?
Well, yeah, I can just respond to what you just said, because you made a point about
Sure,
Europe and food and stuff like that. Well, I just want to make you aware that in Europe, they've long been mocking American food, saying chlorinated chicken and all this kind of thing. Meanwhile, in Europe and the UK, they've given the assent for food to be, fillers to be used in food from insects and worms. They've got royal assent in the UK from the quote monarchy, and in the EU have just allowed worms to be put in food and no labeling. So it's in there, but you're not being told it's in there. And also with the labeling over in this side of the Atlantic is that generally they'll put green stickers on it and healthy love hearts and all that. But when you look to the actual information section, the print is so small, you would need a high-powered microscope to read it. It's that small, even on a beer can, it's so small to read the vital information that you need. And corruption here is off the scale, and so one thing that RFK is not going to change for all of his good deeds. He's not going to call out the cool lie of contagion. Because if you look what is being done in the name of viruses for generations and generations, and Bobby, he will highlight the thing about vaccines and the control groups and lack of and all that kind of thing, but he won't go the whole way, and he won't tell you that there's no real proof of viruses, even though illnesses can occur in clusters. And so that's why people do believe in viruses, that plus the indoctrination. But what he won't say, he will not go and say, come on now, let's have a deep dive into virology. Is it a real science? And likewise, I don't see him calling out the so-called science of climate science. He's sort of sticking with the so-called science, but then he's appearing to oppose aspects of the countermeasures, if you like, vaccines or whatever. He might say, this is too much, this is not good enough. And so what you're getting is not a real opposition. You're getting something in between, which is great because people don't even know they're being lied to. So it's a start, it's a step in the right direction, but he's not leading people all the way, and nor is none of his team are doing that. Del Bigtree's not doing that. None of those people will lead people to the conclusion to at least go and look at virology and understand how to understand what the virologists are claiming and how to critique it. He's not even doing that. So after the last few years, what we've all been through with lockdown and vaccine, mandates and not able to travel, this is big stuff, And I know that there was in Texas recently, they burned a lot of cattle in the name of foot and mouth virus, yeah? In England, they slaughtered 1.5 million chickens the other week in the name of bird flu virus, yeah? These viruses don't exist, Animals get sick just like humans, but they're animals in captivity, and they're housed in certain conditions, and you can understand how these animals are housed. They're not housed in the healthiest of conditions, and they're not fed the best of feed, pumped full of chemicals and all that kind of stuff. But when they get sick, they blame it on a virus.
30 seconds. 30 seconds. Land the plane.
I'm going to cross the helicopter right now. And so if we don't question the existence of viruses, what are we doing? What's the legacy going to be for the generation behind us? Are they going to be even more ignorant than the generation we are in now? Let's hope not. Thanks.
Yeah,
Just
you
wanna take a second
mentioned
to shout out my boy Adam. What's up, bro?
what's up, Adam? Pablo mentioned the whole climate change thing, which is such a thorny issue and frustrating, and mentioned that Bobby won't take it all the way there. But one of my favorite things of Bobby when he was running independently for president is that when he talked about the environmental issues, he specifically did call out this hyper obsession with climate change and carbon, and how even if that's true, it's not the solution. And then he got into all these really wonderful things like generative agriculture, and making sure that our air, water, soil, and food are clean. And that's kind of always been my vibe. I studied environmental science and policy as a minor in college, like 20 years ago. And I was like, we are obsessing over this top line thing. But if you actually dug in and focus on all this other stuff that's destroying our health, destroying our natural environment, the under that God gave us Earth. If you the carbon will take care of itself. Density, forestry, and you have deep sequestration of carbon just from the tending of the land that then feeds the people. Whether he's diving in on some deepest truth, I do think he's pointed in the right direction, strong enough for us to solve most of these problems if we have the courage to fight for it.
Let's go to Yanni.
Cool.
Is that me?
Yeah.
It's Yvonne, but
Sorry,
that's
Mom.
okay. I just wanted to go
Yvonne,
back to
Yvonne?
Jessica.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to go back to Jessica. I haven't been to a medical doctor for 40 years. I gave it up when I was 20. I think I took a dose of antibiotics, maybe the second in my life. And once again, I stopped after the first pill. That was it. I worked in schools and hospitals, so I had insurance. Can't say I really used it. I think, I don't know. Anyway, I just avoided it. The system doesn't work for me. I believe in healing, not putting a band aid or taking a drug with all kinds of side effects. So I also live in Texas. There's plenty of alternative practitioners. If you want someone with an MD, I have a friend, she became a functional doctor, a medicine doctor, came from Baylor. So she had good credentials and realized she wanted to get people healthy, although she was birthing babies. So, that wasn't a field of a lot of pharmaceutical use. But there's you can Google things. I mean, my dad raised me on herbs, so it was easy for me to just continue with trusting Mother Nature. And most drugs are derived from that, as my chemist sister tells me. But I don't want a synthetic substance in my body, so I'm not going to take a drug. So when I left work, I never had Cobra insurance, because why put my energy, my money is energy, into a system I don't believe in? I don't want to support anything I don't believe in. It's just not good physics. But anyway, and regarding RFK, if you read his books, the Fauci book, the Wuhan book, you know exactly where he stands. You know what he believes about viruses. You just have to do a little critical thinking. And yeah, we can't just jump from, oh my gosh, the vaccine, this was a hoax, to, well, there are no things such as viruses. It's all about keeping the immune system healthy and keeping toxins out of our systems. But anyway, I'll drop it there. Thank you for letting me speak. And just don't feed into this pandemic in China stuff. It's exactly what you wrote in the title. It's BS. They just want to scare us. They're feeling nervous. They see what Trump's doing. They see things changing and they're freaking out. But we're on the right side of this evolution. Trust in that. Thanks.
The one thing I think it's probably important to be cognizant of the fact that we knew that we understand now that we have biological weapons that are being created, as well as countermeasures, or whatever we have, as well as a vaccine, all over the place. And that's been happening since what, like 1965, with like SARS. So when we say that it'd be a scamdemic, there is a possibility for biological weapons to be released into the public. So when we have this argument between viruses and exposures to toxins and things that infiltrate the body, it gets confusing, what is what, and how do things act upon the body itself. So it's like, it's interesting if you don't, I had to go to school for 6 years, right? I got philosophy and nursing, and it was difficult to really dial in. And for someone who has been living their life not focusing on that, I can imagine it gets confusing. So, if a virus exists, if it doesn't, if it's a toxic substance that you were exposed to, or if it is something that came from wherever and has a certain fatty lipid layer on the outside, whatever. So it's almost as if we kind of have to be vigilant to make sure our environment and our life is clean and what we put in our bodies is okay. And nobody's going to do anything like Bill Gates and insert things into our food without us knowing, or our cows that we eat. But it's still, I kind of think about that. I think, well, sure, it was totally something to ramp up fear, but at the same time, we do have biological around here that could be used. So it's like a fine line of really what's going on, just not getting overly excited, and I mean trusting each other and the systems, and making sure that we don't go crazy if we do hear about it. And how fast did we learn about COVID? We had it down pretty much what it was and what we should do about it within, I want to say, a month, for people that were really going deep and doing it 24/7. So I'm sure that if anything comes out, Spaces, this is one of the best places to be to find out what's happening, as long as you sit back and relax and let everybody go crazy before you do. And eventually, the answers will be there.
Well, and I don't think it's.
There's a lot that you said there I definitely want to respond
Good
to, but
point.
I'll let you go
And
first.
Yeah, well, I
Go
just
ahead.
want to say that it's not to say that viruses don't exist, but they're a natural part of nature, and our immune systems become stronger when our immune systems aren't so taxed. And then we use that process of symptoms to develop the immune system even more. I mean, every time a child has a runny nose or a cough, he's actually developing his immune system through those, uh, acts, those reactions. Like, when you have a child in the hospital and they can't cough, that's when you're really in trouble. So, you know, it's not that the viruses, whatever you want to call them, I guess it's the definition how we've labeled them as these deadly things. No, we have to stop being anti everything and understand that when we approach things to learn and to have a relationship with them, they're not scary, they're not detrimental, they're there to actually help us grow and change and get stronger.
Right? Natural immunity like went away. I remember during COVID, I'm like, what do you mean? We have the most incredible system right inside of our own bodies. Very intricate identification system. We have cells that go out and, specifically charge towards things that are dangerous. We memorize them inside of our body. So if we ever see them again, we're totally ready to combat them. Natural immunity. We do have natural immunity, which was so hilarious. Fauci just ignored it.
No, they
It was like it
denied
didn't
They
exist.
denied it. Like it was
Yeah.
completely like it doesn't even exist. And that's like one of the first things. I'm like, all right, 99% survival rate. Let me go get infected, honestly, and get it over with so I could build immunity to it, That's the way I look
Yeah, but
at
that's
it at the
terrible for
time.
profits,
I was
Adam.
down for a month, but regardless, I built immunity to it, and then we had the different variant. I had to build immunity to that. Had some heart palpitations out of the second variant, and that could be. Honestly, they say that we're the people that didn't take the jab created these mutations and all this stuff, but honestly, I think it was the people that were jabbed and shedding that created different mutations. That's just my personal opinion. It's not science, it's not fact. So whatever. I don't care. That's just my personal opinion. As far as trust, I don't care who's in office. I don't trust the government, period. So like until we clean things up and like get some reasonable like people, we of course we have Bobby, we have which I'm very, very grateful for. Bobby, Trump, everybody like that's got in office now. We just got to clean house and get some transparency on these things so people can make better decisions and people shouldn't be forced into things. And God equip me with any tools I need. That's who I rely on. I rely on God and everything that He's put on this earth. Natural medicines and things along that line. I simply used like I woke up one morning and I've said this story a bunch of times because it was just like I woke up, I was gasping for breath, like couldn't breathe at all, couldn't absorb. I couldn't absorb any oxygen at all, and I ran to my kitchen. I was like, like just like gasping for breath, and grabbed some oil of oregano, dropped that under my tongue, breathed in the vapors, and then I was like, I could breathe again. Thank God I didn't have to go to the ER, essentially, or get dragged away on a stretcher. So yeah, definitely great things to educate yourself on holistically and naturally, and definitely utilize those things. And God did give us an immune system, which is one of the most beautiful things. I yield.
Dude, I mean, like, I like that we're talking about the health and all that, but dude, to be honest with you, these bioweapons aren't created, and these systems and authority figures aren't put in place in order to, with the scamdemic to exploit our immune systems. Okay, they're there to exploit your rights. That's what they're trying to exploit. Like it's got a 99.99999 percentile survival rate, right? So the mortality rate is what, 0.0001?
99.1 or 99.3. But regardless, it's like you have more risk of dying crossing the street,
It's a fraction of a fraction. It was never about your health. It was never about your health. and it was never
Well, not the
and the
first one.
bioweapons.
There's
No, they
there's
were.
no,
It was
there's
never
nothing
about your
preventing
health.
them from launching a bioweapon that does have a higher kill rate. That's facts.
Yeah.
But still, it's not about exploiting your health. It's not about you know, the basically saying, okay, if you're not healthy or if you don't take the vaccine, you're going to die. It's not about that. What it's about is saying you need to stand 6 feet apart from one another. You can't enter a building without a certain paperwork. You're not allowed to have a job unless you have a vaccine schedule. These are all things. Look into other countries, bro. In China, you were sent to a fucking concentration camp. In Australia,
Remember little kids?
you were sent to a fucking concentration camp in Australia. It
Remember
was
they had
never
dogs they were
about
killing
getting
in the
healthy.
streets?
What?
In China, they took away all the kids, they put them in these things, and then they were killing the dogs and stuff for the people that they left behind in the streets. Like China was disgusting. It was horrific what they did there.
It was about one simple thing: control. That's all it was about. It was about control.
Got actors
And
laying with other body, like laying on the floor pretending they're dead. You know, like you see the one guy moving his arm, or like whatever, and like it was such a fear mongering BS campaign that they pushed, and some people saw through it. A lot of people didn't. A lot of people bought the MSM. Oh, I trust mainstream media. BS. Like. But thank God, I think we have enough people awake that they can't pull this crap anymore, or ever again. Like as long as we keep educating people on what they did.
look, bro, if they released a bioweapon for Ebola and people were bleeding out their ears and bleeding out their eyes and coughing up blood, I would still not comply. It's that simple.
Yeah,
to me.
and there's a bunch of folks that are probably with you on that, but I just think they're more than happy to boil the frog. The first one was bullshit. It was 99% plus survival rate. If people don't fall for the same tactics, they'll just make it deadlier. Even just enough to be like, oh shit, maybe we should listen this time, because they just need to keep enough people in line. So I'm just not assuming that they're not going to kill people. We know they're more than happy to kill people, right?
Look at the vaccine statistics. 81% of Americans took the first jab. 81% of Americans took the first jab, which means that there's only 19% of Americans that are unvaccinated. There was 36% of Americans took a second jab. So what happened there? What happened with the 50% of the 86% or the 81% that just decided not to get a second jab? It was that they lost faith in the system. It means that they will not comply to a second jab. They knew that they got bamboozled. Because you want to know why? Because they went on TV, like guys like Anthony Fauci went on TV and said it would not prevent transmissibility, or it would prevent transmissibility. You only need the one jab and you're good. And then you end up needing to take two. And then you ended up needing to take three. And then you ended up needing to take 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. I think that the total number right now is up to 14, if I'm correct. So you're telling me that I need to take 14 fucking experimental vaccines in order to, get a job? Get the fuck out of here, bro. I don't care if you're bleeding out your fucking eyes. It's that simple. I will not comply to any of that shit ever again. I don't give a fuck if you are dying in the street. You will not comply. It is that simple. It doesn't matter if you're feeling like as if people's lives are on the line or anything like that. It's not about your health. It's about your rights. It's about them stripping you of your rights. It's not. Look, listen. This is the scenario. This is the playbook. They want to make things so bad, okay, that you will be begging them
for you to get your rights stripped in order for it to just be a little bit less bad, a little bit less terrible. And that's the fucking playbook. So until you fucking wake up and you see that shit for what it is, you will end up becoming a fucking experiment. It's that simple to me.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
we're not
Adam.
lab rats, man. And yeah, definitely, we all did our quite a bit of us did our research on the mRNA technology, all that stuff, and that it wasn't ready, and like it's not going to be ready for a while. So, but regardless, I did have somebody bring up like a few days ago that they were talking about the shedding and stuff, and like I honestly, like, I don't give a fuck, like about the shedding. Like my grandma, like I hadn't seen in like a year and a half, something like that, and she's old, and I'm gonna give her a hug whether she's jabbed up or not. Like I did not care because I trusted my own immune system to fight it off, and my own health. So whatever it is, I take nattokinase, all that stuff to shed it, but or to get rid of it. But like that was another fear mongering tactic as well. It's not fear mongering, but the shedding part of the thing for the people that did take the jab, they wanted you to like also to stay separate from your grandma or somebody that's been jabbed. Like so like I didn't care. I gave my grandma a hug, even though and my aunt, they're still probably still lost on that. They didn't actually. My cousin, my little cousin that did get because she's a nurse. She just came out of like she's not a nurse. She's a doctor, but she just came out of like 8 years of schooling and a whole heap load of debt, and was like, just got into the industry and was started working in her profession, and it's like she's got all this debt, and they put her in a position where you either take this or you take on all that debt and no job, like no job out of it, and it was just horrendous. But yeah, even the viral shedding, I didn't care. I was like, I'm gonna hug my grandma. I don't care. God's gonna protect me in this regard, and whether God intervenes in their creation of this, or the outputting of it, like some it wasn't as effective as they wanted it to be, things like that. That there are things that God plays into that we don't know, and I'll just rely on that myself. And I said 99% something whatever. If it takes me out, then it takes me out. Oh well, that's my time. God chose it. I'll yield. Actually, I did want to play something to add or placate to what you were saying there, which is Anthony Fauci himself saying,
"You're vaccinated, you don't have a risk," and that's the reason why we say it's as simple as black and white. You're vaccinated, you're safe. You're unvaccinated, you're at risk. Simple as that. I mean, I got infected about 2 weeks ago. It was my third infection, and I had been vaccinated and boosted a total of 6 times. You're vaccinated.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fauci
The
was full of shit for sure.
I am the science. I'm going to get my.
I just want to.
I'm sorry.
Oh, geez. I just want to say when we're talking about the general public, most people are not awake. I think a bunch of folks did wake up, and it's great. But never doubt the impact of things like fatigue and laziness for the declining numbers of people getting boosted. Because remember, by the time we were about a year and a half, 2 years in, the numbers weren't as scary. Even the numbers they were trying to present to us weren't as scary. So they're like, I don't need to get boosted again. It's fine. It's fine. I don't have the confidence that you do necessarily, Augustus, that was a sign that like everyone woke up to it. I still think the vast majority of people, if they effectively message fear at us about the next pandemic, I'm not so confident that most people won't go right back into it. Now, they're going to be more reluctant for a lot of the measures, especially the staying at home thing, especially with such a big push to get people working from the office again, because God forbid we let commercial real estate go down. But like, let's be aware, especially those of us who are trying to spread this message. We haven't so permanently solved the problem of people who deep down don't trust pharma, but will still respond to fear messaging. We still have our work cut out for us. And if they effectively make the next one like legitimately more harmful, kills more people, that sort of thing, a lot of folks that we were hoping kind of woke up to this the last time are going to fall right back in line, and our work is really going to be cut out for us to help them. And it's going to take more than screaming "I will not comply" to help these folks make better decisions for themselves. And in the meantime, going along with the MAHA message, and a lot of what everyone else in this room has said, our immune systems are powerful, but they're only as powerful as we are healthy. And if we're still taking in all their crap food, their toxins, their stress, then our immune systems aren't prepared to begin with. And a lot of these folks are deeply, deeply in danger, right? I'll land there.
Good point.
I just want to say something off of what Adam had mentioned. You know, he will hug his grandmother. My grandfather at the time of COVID, as we were heading into the holidays, was about 95 years old, 96 years old. And man, he's strong as an ox. And I got COVID right before Christmas. And I said to my mother, I'm like, Ma, I don't want to get Pop sick. She's like, are you nuts? You're coming to Christmas. So yeah, I went to Christmas sick. And my family is strong as a bunch of oxes. Nobody's vaccinated. So, you know, it's almost like a mindset thing. And of course, you know, people with comorbidities are at risk, blah, blah, blah. But are you going to risk the livelihoods of your grandchildren as a 90-year-old person and shut down the whole world because you're old and you're on your way out anyway? And, you know, I think most people complied not only out of fear for losing their jobs and their livelihood, but they got this vaccine because they were so fearful, ultimately, of death. And if you are that fearful of death, all that tells me is you don't believe that there's anything afterward, or you believe there's something really bad afterward. So, you know, you could say maybe people won't comply next time, or maybe they will. But the core problem is that people don't believe in God, because if they believed in him, they wouldn't have such a bad fear of death and comply with all these insane mandates.
Fuck yeah.
Good point, Augustus. You sound different, by the way. That's crazy.
I'm kind of
JK, that's Stephanie. Thanks.
Yo, bring
Thanks for
Katie
that,
up,
Stephanie.
bro.
Seriously.
Yo, it won't let me bring people up, but we've got Gary or John Nolan.
Yeah, I was just about to say we've got some requests and it won't let me bring anyone else up right now. I'm wondering if anyone is down to volunteer to drop down and so that we can cycle some people in.
Yeah,
and we're happy to bring you back up if you got more.
I'll volunteer to go down, but I just need to respond to what she just said. She's absolutely right. We are going through a time of evolution. And if you are spiritually connected, you know that there is consciousness that is leaving the planet. Those souls have chosen to go at this time to bring higher vibrations of energy and consciousness into the planet. They know they are eternal spirits. They're eternal. I've worked with children who died, before the first year of age. Those souls planned, they knew that was their mission, was to come and touch the lives of the people in those communities that worked with them to try to help their families. But if you can look at this from a higher perspective, that's what's happening right now. And that's why we can trust that we're always going to expand. The universe is always expanding. We're not going to go backwards. We just have to keep releasing the fear of the old paradigm or matrix or whatever, because it's no longer power and control over others. We're moving into the power of love and community and communication and creativity. And you can drop me down.
Thanks, Yvonne. You actually don't need to drop down right this second. I think we managed to get folks up. I really appreciate that message. You know, my life has always been very deeply a spiritual journey. I was blessed to have a Christian grade school experience that gave me a deep belief. And then I was able to sort of expand on that in high school when I got rebellious and discovered things like psychedelics, and everything just really opened up for me. And it all lined up with the underpinnings I learned basically by having Jesus as a role model. I mean, I really figured the dude had it all figured out, and that's stuck with me this whole time. I've always felt a deep sense of purpose in this life. Even when I was a little kid, it felt like I was here at a time of wild and beautiful change that would probably come with a lot of conflict and struggle as well, but that I was here for that. And I have a feeling I've got a large cohort of beautiful spirits here with me, kind of on the same vibe. I think we've got Sam first, and then we'll go back to Kelly.
Hi, thank you for the mic. This is a beautiful room, and I think all these conversations are coming up, especially after we've gotten the right people elected. So I come from the Eastern side of spirituality, and I also have a background of Ayurveda. So I think in the Eastern philosophy, we've been told that as much as life is real, death is also the absolute truth. The problem is we've been told that we have 4 stages, right? We are born, we go through our childhood, adolescence, and in the adolescence and towards our maturing age, we marry. The problem is the idea that we attach to all of these material possessions. We attach them so hard that the spirituality part of us doesn't let us know that none of it that you have acquired in this life is yours. You're gonna not go with it when you actually go. And that is the fear of death. And I think if we are trying to create a perfect life, all of us that are walking the earth have some or the other type of ailment in them, right? Nobody's perfect. Nobody's like that guy who's wanting to live to 200 by popping at 75 pills in the morning and locking himself in locker. So if the idea of life is not to be lived and be a bubble boy from Seinfeld, then you've already lost the plot. So I have more points on Ayurveda, but I think I just wanted to start from that, and thank you for the mic.
That was awesome, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Kelly, what do you got?
I could get behind what he said, but go ahead, next speaker.
Yeah, it's just real quick. It actually made me laugh about the bubble boy. I got it in my head. But anyway, I just actually wanted to, I'm going to have to drop, but I wanted to ask the host if it's all right that American Mission later replays this into a stream onto the platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. ClubMAHA is a part of American Mission, and we're more than happy to do that. That's not a problem. Shout out all the American Mission homies that are in the space. You, Adam, Cheney, White Hat. Those are just a few that I see. So you guys are the best. We love what you guys are doing. We love your mission. And is there anything you want to say positive about American Mission, babe?
Hashtag we love American Mission. Hashtag no bubble boys.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And the timing was great because actually I'm working on our weekend mission on the Substack. And so I'm putting the information in here in the space link and all that stuff and some graphics. So yeah, this good space. So thank you.
Our
Thank
Substack has no paywall, by the way.
Yes,
so.
no paywall. Information is free.
Yes.
So to the people that are here that might not know about American Mission, do you mind just plugging it for them before you go?
Well, the main thing with American Mission, we believe in empowering the people with education and information so they can fight the fight at the local level. We're really pro-activist, pro-America, pro-Trump, and all of that, and pro-MAHA. So we do have a community page in American Mission. We invite you to join that. I will put the Substack link in the purple pill when I have that done. But we're constantly doing things, and I want to shout out for Adam. We're doing a lot of XSpaces, and Adam has his Thunderdome tomorrow, Saturday at noon. So I appreciate it again. Thanks for bringing me up, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Hey, can you take a question about American Mission real quick? Do you guys help politicians get in? Do you help races that are in line with your views?
Yes, we actually we vet them with America First, make sure they're America First, and we can have spaces where people can come in and ask questions to them and get to know them more. So yes, so if you do have somebody that you want to promote, let us know.
We'll definitely do, and we will definitely be
Okay.
in touch.
Great,
Augustus.
thanks, appreciate it. Okay, thanks again. Have a great weekend, or I'll see you in the weekend. Bye.
All right, catch you on the flip flop.
Thanks, Kelly. Everyone here at Club Maha has been super grateful for your support. You guys have been awesome.
Yeah, man. Me myself, I'd like to say, like I was, like I'm sure, like a bunch of us were. We were Maha before Maha was a thing, right? Like like I just the whole Maha movement. Like I was so pleased by like its fruition, and it's something I've been like pounding sand about. Like just all the GMOs, everything, all this, and my biggest thing is patent on life. I want to put an end on patent on life. I think that's a big root of the problem from the GMOs. If there's no patents, then what's the point of them creating them, right? So, on top of that, you have viruses can have patents, vaccines can have patents. I think if it's something that's like Elon created, what was it that he put open source? Tesla, the driving thing. He did that open source because he wants the world to be able, even the battery technology, he made it open source so other people can learn and improve humanity, right? This guy cares. Where these people in big pharma, they want to keep the patents to themselves, like let's say for instance a medicine my mother takes, Xifaxan, right? That stuff is like for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which helps like her, from spitting out blood essentially, and bleeding to death. But the that stuff is like $1,400 a bottle of pills or something like that, 15 something $100, and it's like they have this patent and there's no like what is it called when they have the other brand off brand? Generic. Thank you. I was having a brain fart. So yeah, generic. There's no generic for it. So it's like she's like either if she doesn't have insurance, then we got to shell out $1,500 extra a month just for one medicine, and that's insane. The world shouldn't be like that.
Man, Adam, I totally agree, man. In fact, I've been a really big proponent of alternative finance. Like, we should be crowdfunding and open sourcing everything. And you don't have to change anything inherently about capitalism to do it. I really want to see, for instance, X has been getting money transmitter licenses in all 50 states to launch their product X Money and allow things like tipping directly on posts. I want to see that turn into crowdfunding so that any given post can be about what someone has a need for or an offering for. And then just like the virality of a post going around the world in a few hours and getting seen by millions of people, we need to be able to move value with that awareness, with that discussion. And when you start applying that to things like medicine, where a team might love to research a specific medicine or remedy or ailment, and currently the only way to get money for that is through either pharmaceutical corporations, universities, or states, to be able to get enough money to get some lab time and at least do that initial step, a few $100,000 just to do that first step, and then come back and open source the results, and then get some money for the next step, or let another team pick up from the results they got and roll with that. We could be looking at the entire economy for all the things that are currently that we rely on either massive fuck off corporations or governments for. And we could be picking them off one by collaborating together and sending $1 per person. And the people who care more and can give more, and we can do the same. We can do a capitalism against these kleptocrats and control freaks, and just open source everything. There's no moat to it,
So it
So
sounds
I'm
like
super into that, man.
voluntarism, and I love voluntarism. It's I don't. I
Yeah,
don't like the
yeah.
word.
The OG libertarianism was called agorism, And it basically runs on the non-aggression principle.
I love
that we're free to do anything we want as long as we don't step on anyone else's rights to do what they want. It's the quintessential definition of freedom in my mind. And this freedom doesn't work if everybody is a rugged, fierce individualist. We have to embrace our interdependence.
Dude, did you just read my bio? NAP, individualist. You know, like that's.
Oh, love that, man.
You know,
Love
I'm
that,
all
dude.
about that.
Following you back right now, bro. Hell yeah. Love that, dude. Tico, you've had your hand up for a minute. Let's hear what you got to say, bud.
Yeah, solid information there, Kirk. I thought the model you just described is very interesting, and you're absolutely right. You're exchanging, a good or a service right there and monetizing it, if you will. So kudos to you there. One thing I think we need to tap into with respect to these types of models is the reduced risk, because technically that's the open source strength. Is we're actually reducing the risk profile both individually and collectively, and it allows that patent, sort of what you described there, of the patent is actually, it's like, hey, you guys are increasing the risk profile for everybody. So is that exactly what we're looking for? Versus if we're in open source world, we basically say try to find the solutions based on the risks that are coming up. So kudos to you, and obviously I appreciate the time for the mic.
Oh, for sure, man. Yeah, this risk profile thing is a really important thing to recognize too, because when these corporations patent something and then hold on tightly to not let anybody else use it to create goods or services, usually what they fall back on is the amount of risk they took to create the thing. Well, we put up all the money. Well, frankly, most of us don't want them putting up all the money. I would because if I'm going to buy the product anyway, I'm already putting up money. I would love to put some of that money up on the front end for open source alternatives. And when you get, $1 million funded by 500,000 people, no one can sit there and bang their drum and say, I deserve to make, $1 billion off this and hold it tightly for myself and no one else can make it. It doesn't make any sense to me, and I don't think it violates any concepts of capitalism to do it this way, because when you do it this way, you can also afford to charge less. You can structure the business differently so it doesn't have that perverse profit comes before literally everything else model. And if we're saving money as consumers, that's the same thing as making money. I think it was Abe Lincoln famously said it, or was it Ben Franklin? A penny saved is a penny earned. It was a famous saying. If we're charging less and it's costing less, that's profit to the people that are relying on these products, positive, especially if they're the ones funding it. Yeah, it's a net positive. Exactly.
It increases.
Tico, do you have something else, man?
It increases the capacity, which means that we get more output per unit versus the input, and that can be applied literally on the farm or in the energy or in the consumption world. So if we try to encourage or incentivize certain models, then what ends up happening is those models will provide value in the form of reduced risk, and then the performance, which means the growth of the market or the more people who tend to participate in it.
Also, to mention, you cut out the waste and abuse of bureaucracy, right? Like, it's going directly to the source. You don't have these people in federal government taking their cut, getting their kickbacks, setting up their revolving doors. No, we the people are supplying the funding for this, and that's the beauty of a voluntary society. Is like that was my thing with taxes. Is like, okay, all this money, I know it's been wasted. All these people are shocked by like the stupid things and some of the waste and abuse. Like I I knew this. Like, yeah, it's I'm not surprised by it, but with this voluntary, like I've always had this idea in my head that if the government was so efficient, right, they wanted to propose programs, make it voluntary. You could opt out, or opt in or whatever the heck. And like you get your W-2 form, you get a list of programs. They're going to sell you on the idea if you want to partake in it, you want to fund it. So like schools, okay, cool. I'm down for funding schools and getting better teachers and stuff like that. So I'll allocate, 0 to 100%, whatever I want out of my paycheck. You know, like let's say you're a college student and you're struggling and you're making ends meet, you shouldn't really have to pay taxes, you know, or you shouldn't have to pay into these programs, like unless you want to. You got a little extra money, that's cool. But then you have the person that's old and retired, and they don't have, you know, they don't really need much income. They've got their money in savings, and you know, they work just to work to stay relevant and, you know, enjoy their life, like have purpose, and they could put like 100% of their paycheck if they want. You know, like they should have these programs, and they should have to sell us on them. And then we have free market alternatives, of course, which most likely will be better.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the interesting thing about the sort of digitization, especially the coming up of AI, especially with education, they're finding that with a good AI tutor, you can learn what a school would teach you in years in a matter of weeks or a few months. So this idea that we need to be funding billions and billions and billions of dollars on physical infrastructure for education for schools and high schools. I don't know if y'all have noticed, most of them have layouts very similar to prisons. There's an author named John Taylor Gatto, and these books might be a little dated at this point, but John Taylor Gatto was a Teacher of the Year award winner in Manhattan, and he taught in the most affluent school, or one of the most affluent schools in Manhattan, and he found that the test scores were pretty similar to the poorer school districts in Manhattan. So he started researching why that might be. And he got all the way into like the origins of the compulsory education system, how it was funded by like the Morgans and the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and things like that. And realized that it was designed to be just good enough to pull agricultural workers off the field and operate machinery. You know what I mean? Take orders and operate the machines. And we are so far beyond that now that it's ridiculous. So at this point, I would rather see good AI in all of our hands and then responsibly in the hands of our young people that can sort of follow them on their journeys and be tutors and personal assistants. One of my favorite things about the book, Weapons of Mass Instruction by John Taylor Gatto, was that he opens the book with some stories about prominent figures, both in American history and elsewhere, who did amazing things as early as the age of like 12. I can't remember if it was Nathan Hale or someone else, but at like the age of 12, he took over a British naval ship and then captained it with a full crew. I mean, incredible things that we've essentially stunted the development of our young people in this day and age because they think that, you know, at 18, they've graduated high school and then they need to go to college for 4 more years. And so at the earliest, what, you're like 22 before you've even started your life? And that's crazy. Like, kids are smart and they absorb information like a sponge. I can't wait to see what they're capable of when the chains are taken off and they can go at their own pace and based on their own interests, and the learning style is catered to what they understand and what they're good at. I think we're capable of just so much more. And the crowdfunding model, I think ultimately, maybe not tomorrow, but ultimately we could ditch this centralization entirely. Because it's not just like, I want to dedicate X% of my taxes to education or healthcare and not to war. It's that when I give my money to the government, do I trust how they spend it? And the answer is no. You know, and I don't think that's too controversial of a viewpoint. And it's not that I don't want these things solved for, it's that I desperately want these things solved for. And every dollar I give to the government is not spent appropriately in doing so. So how do we get to the point where the R&D is funded by ourselves individually, like sort of emergently in community? And then how do we get that into like an open source paradigm where the manufacturing and distribution can be wildly decentralized? To the point where you can relocalize supply chains, especially in things like food, but even in things like clothing and household goods. You know, when your $20 coffee pot breaks, what if you could just print yourself a new button instead of throwing the whole thing in a waste in a landfill and buying a whole new cheap, shitty coffee pot? This stuff is stupid. Like, it's just crazy to me. This has been an awesome conversation. I'm more than happy to keep it open if we've got some more speakers, if it flows and we've got some more cool things to talk about. And otherwise, I think this might be a nice place to land the plane and just thank everybody for spending some time with us. What do you guys
I'll
think?
leave you with this. This is a supposed quote by Nathan Hale, since you brought him up. I only regret that I have but one life to lose for my country. There we go.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, well, I tell you what, let's call it there. But we're going to be doing a lot more of these spaces. I hope to see a lot of these faces again. Be safe out there. Stay informed. Keep your family tight. Do what you can for your community. Stay healthy. And we'll see you again real soon. Thanks, everybody. Take care.